Welcome to this video on Chapter 8, Verbs. Verbs are extremely important in any language. In English, if there is no verb, there is no sentence. There is no idea. You must have a verb. Someone must be doing something, something must be happening, or we don't talk, we don't write, right? We don't say things unless there's something to say. Right? So you need a verb. Now, subjects are also important, very important in English. There's only one case in English where we don't need a subject for the sentence. I wonder if you know it. We'll talk about it later in this video. But verbs, you need a verb. If there's no verb, you've got a fragment, right? You don't have a complete sentence. Okay? So this chapter 8 is very, very, very important. The first thing to do is to define what a verb is. Okay, so obviously a verb is, we usually think of as an action word, but of course not all verbs describe a physical action. They could also describe a state. To be, right? To appear, to look like, to seem. Okay, these stative verbs. Okay. Verbs also have some morphology, right? The form of a verb can be changed depending on tense, or if there's third person, he, she, and it, we add that S, okay? Syntax-wise, most verbs, the vast majority of verbs, can go after a word like please. Please do this. Okay. I would even say for negative, we could say don't. Please do it, don't do it. Okay. So if we can stick the word after a please, it's pretty sure that that's a verb. Okay. What is a verb tense when we talk about tense? Okay. If you go on the internet, you go on Google, you go on YouTube, you will probably see a lot of videos and websites saying that English has 12 tenses, and that's not quite accurate. Okay, so tense refers to the temporal information, right? We change the form of the verb to indicate when that verb happened. And in English, right, the example, she mows the grass. If I see that S with he, she, or it, I know that's present tense, right? I'm talking about now, okay, usually. If I see an ED, a D or ED at the end of a verb, usually that's going to tell me that's past tense. And so again, the word itself changes. We add suffixes to the word. How many verb tenses are there? Again, most websites will tell you 12, but in fact, English only has 2 tenses. If we are being very strict and narrow with our definition of tense, tense meaning time information, temporal information. We have present, we have past. There is no way that I can change that verb mow to give a sense of future, right? I can add a modal. I can say she will mow, she may mow, she might mow, okay? I can add a phrasal modal like she is going to mow, right? But notice the word mow itself, I can't add anything or change it to make it future. The S makes it present, the ED makes it past. And there's only 2 tenses then, okay? Now, do tenses only convey temporal information? So again, they usually convey temporal information, past or present, okay? But we get a sense that there's more meaning going on, right? So when I say she mows versus she is mowing, both present tense, but now we have a sense of, present simple being routine, habit. She is mowing the grass. I stick that ing. That gives me a sense of, right, current, ongoing. She's doing it right now. But of course, if I say our flight leaves at 9, that's different than she mows the grass every morning, right? Present simple, I added an S. Our flight leaves, but this is not every morning. This is not habit, routine. That's future. Interesting. Present tense, but I'm talking about the future. Okay. Get ed, gives me past tense. She already mowed the grass. Okay. What other information does tense convey? So I have this idea that it's present, okay, or it's a habit or routine. It's ongoing. It's current. Okay. So again, past tense, done, completed. But if I stick it in an if clause, if you mowed the lawn more often, the yard would look nicer. In these conditional sentences, right, we are postulating some possible potential action. You may or may not mow the lawn. If you mowed the lawn more often, your yard would look nicer. We're using the past tense, right, to convey the idea that this is a hypothetical, this is a possibility, but it's not something that has actually happened yet. Okay? Megan sat at her desk. Megan was sitting at her desk. Both past tense, but again, one is a completed, finished action. One, we are discussing some kind of ongoing, incomplete action. She was sitting. That's the progressive or continuous aspect. Okay? Sat and was. Those are both past tense verbs. But of course, that ing, that's doing something differently. Sitting does not tell me past or present, right? So it's doing something differently. That difference is called aspect, okay? So when I add an ing onto a verb, that does not give me temporal information. It doesn't tell me past, present, or future. It gives me some other meaning, and we call that aspect. Hence, time. Aspect is going to be something that's not temporal information. Okay? In English, we have 6 tense aspect forms. So we're going to get away from using that word tense to mean all forms of the verb. Okay, so again, if you go on Google or YouTube, you'll see that usually you'll see websites say there are 12 verb tenses. Not technically. There are 12 tense aspect forms. Let's look at 6 of them. Okay. So we have present simple. So again, present is our tense. That's our time. But present simple is going to be used usually when I'm talking about habits or routines. Okay. Past simple. Okay. The past is giving me that temporal information. Simple is going to be telling me it's a complete, finished action. But when we can have present progressive. So again, still in present tense, but I add an ing that gives me that progressive, that continuous, ongoing, unfinished, incomplete action. Okay, you have past progressive, you have present perfect, which can be used for a lot of different meanings, and there's past perfect. Okay, so again, if you notice, only 2 tenses, present and past. But you have 3 aspects. You can have simple, progressive, perfect. Okay, so we're combining those. Okay, we can actually start combining them in all other different kind of ways that can get very confusing. Okay? Present simple, right? For first and second person, you use the base form of the verb. For third person, singular, that's the only case in present tense in English where we have to change it. Okay, and you add an S or ES there. If it's third person plural, we're back to the base form. Okay. For past simple, first person, second person, third person, it doesn't matter. It's going to add an ED, a D or ED suffix for regular verbs, and then you have all of those irregular verbs in English, right? Do, did, right? Be, was, were, okay? Go, went, all of those forms that give my students big headaches trying to learn all of that. Okay? Played, tried, slept, saw, broke, okay? All of these irregular forms. What's the meaning? So those are the forms. What's the meaning? Okay, so again, we use present simple when we're talking about routine or habit. His schedule. He goes to the gym 3 days a week. Right? These are rituals. These are things that happen regularly. We can use it for future. What? If the future is a scheduled event or on some kind of timetable, like plane flight, bus stop, class starting at a certain time. If it's on a schedule, we can use the present simple. Okay? The progressive aspect, what do we use that for? So if it's present progressive, right, we use the present form of the be verb, am, is, or are, and the present participle. Present participle just means ing verb. Okay? We use the ing verb. I am talking, she is dozing, they are listening intently, right? The meaning being now, they're doing that now. Past progressive, you use the past tense of the be verb, was or were, and that present participle, that ing verb. I was playing, they were drawing, okay? We were sleeping. What is the meaning when I'm using that ing verb? Right? The present or past progressive, right? It's a present activity or a past activity that was incomplete, hasn't finished yet, right? I am talking on Zoom right now. I am recording this video right now. It has not finished yet. Or I'm talking about sometime in the past, but I'm talking about something that wasn't quite finished at that time. Okay? We're visiting my sister during the Christmas break. What's that all about? That's going to be future plans. So sometimes we use present progressive to talk about the future when we're talking about a plan, right? We are going to visit my sister. We are planning on visiting my sister. So future plans. The perfect tense aspect, okay, has all different kinds of meanings. Okay? Perfect, present perfect has a form of the have, either have or has, with the past participle. I have seen that film a million times. She has lived here her whole life. Okay. For past perfect, it'll be the past of have, had, and the past participle. She had lived there for 6 years. Okay. Those are the forms. What is the meaning of perfect when we say present perfect? Okay. So if you say, I've seen that film a million times, what's the difference between saying that and saying, I saw that film a million times? Well, when I say I have seen, that it conveys the idea of repeated actions. Not just I saw that film last night, but I have seen that film many times. It's a repeated action. She has lived here her whole life, not just she's living here right now, right? But this continuous state of action, right? She moved here. Well, she was born here. She has lived here her whole life. She was born here. She never moved. She still lives here today. She has lived here. Okay? Have you met Ricky Bobby? Yes, I have. Okay. Now we have a past action. It's completed. But why would I say this instead of did you meet Ricky Bobby? Instead of saying did you meet him, I can say have you met him when I am not talking about a specific time. The time is unknown, unspecified. I'm not talking about yesterday or last week or last month, but just have you met him at any time, unspecified time in the past, right? Have you met him? Yes, I have. Okay? For past perfect, we have one meaning, one purpose, right? She had lived there for 6 years before moving to Texas, right? Oops, sorry, right? It's a past event that happened before another past event. So we use past perfect when we are talking about two different events that both happened in the past. One happened before the other. Okay. For past participle forms, an easy way to remember what is the past participle, those are the same forms of the verb that we use as adjectives. So if I want to use a present perfect form of the verb to break, right? I would say he has broken his bone, right? And then what is the current state of his bone? His bone is broken. Adjective. So in the first sentence, it's a past participle. It is the present perfect form of the verb. He has broken. In the second sentence, it's an adjective. His bone is broken. Okay? If I'm talking about a friend that I have known forever, I've known him forever, that's the present perfect form of the verb. But this city is well known. We use the same past participle form as an adjective. So again, if you think of the adjective form of a verb, the form of the verb that we use to describe something, that's your past participle. If it's a regular verb where we add ed, it's just going to be ed, right? How do you feel? I'm scared. I'm excited. I'm frightened, right? Those are adjectives with an ed. What about his bone? Doctor, his bone is broken. Okay, this city is well known. Okay, thank you for listening. The next video will be about identifying the verb tense aspect form.